Hello everyone, Maurice here, and today I'm gonna be trying another format, a slightly different format than my usual. So, today I'll be discussing about, I'll be rambling like the video description says, about my favorite game series. So, as I'm doing that, I'll be showing, as you can see, a sped up drawing. So, a side thing to let you informed. First of all, my apologies for my bad English. I will be having a little bit of a problem sometimes trying to make sentences. Second thing, this is not scripted at all. I did script a bit of the initial part that I'm like just to get the argument started, the conversation, the rambling. I don't know how to call it, and then. That's about it. The rest is gonna be me, as the video says, rambling and just trying to make a coherent sentence. So, while you look at the drawings, and hopefully that provides some kind of entertainment. And you can always, like, if you don't want to hear me talk, you can always just turn off the audio and just put some music that you like and enjoy the drawing. So, without further ado, let's talk about Darksiders. So, Darksiders. There's a lot I can say about that game, this series, but I'll go with the essentials. As I said, this is my favorite video game series. It was this series that got me really interested into fantasy-oriented stories. So that's basically what got me interested in playing games like Dark Souls 3, the Witcher series, Diablo 3, Monster Hunter World, Dragon's Dogma, and others like that. Now, I became a fan back in 2013. I was really into getting my art flow going, keeping myself inspired and starting to find my art style, trying to get it more on a professional level. My two biggest inspirations as far as artists go were Humberto Ramos and Joe Madureira. So and also I got really one of the main catalysts for inspiration of my art and for inspiration in general to draw. I got from video games. I love playing video games, especially the action ones. So that really was one of the main things that got me inspired to draw. Like other than comic books, like the superhero stuff or the movies and cartoons. So. Speaking of Joe Madureira specifically in this case, I heard that he was around going through the internet. I heard that he actually had a video game that was that he was involved in a lot. Like he did all the art. He did a lot of the art for it, like the general concepts. He helped build this game. So I decided to look it up, and I went to Google, searched basically Joe Madureira game. And I actually found it immediately, and oh my god, when I saw fucking Death, I fell in love. I was like, this is the most metal character I've ever seen. I always loved the concept of the Green Reaper anyway, like the general idea of it, and that one was the coolest depiction of Death I ever seen, in my honest opinion. Because I've seen a few versions, I've seen a lot of versions. So, my god, when I saw that, I was like, I need this game. And then I heard, I saw some reviews of the game just to see what kind of game it is exactly, and it actually fell exactly into my type of game. It was like an adventure game, kind of like the Zelda series. It was kind of hack and slash, like the God of War series, very quick paced. I don't know, fast paced, maybe it's called. But anyway, it's a fast fighting game that. Action game in which you slash the hell out of demons and angels. I mean, I was fucking hooked. So, then I decided to since it's the second game, let's say this. Since it was the second game, I was worried that if I started with the second game that featured death, I would ruin my experience. Since as I was looking up the games, it was actually Darksiders 1 and 2. Darksiders 1 featured war as is the protagonist. So I was worried that if I started with 2, because I was so interested in playing Death, I would be missing out on important story pieces of the first one. Maybe the second one was actually a sequel. I didn't exactly know how the structure of the stories went back in the day. So I was like, okay, let's look it up. looked it up again, and I actually saw an interesting thing that the first game is basically the intro of the game, 100 years from that intro, and then there's the actual story. And the second game actually is in between those 100 years. So it was basically, I was basically in the clear, because the game was actually the game was actually in between the story of the first one and not even much of the main course of the story. So it was almost like a prequel thing, almost. And I realized that I was pretty much in the clear. I could play either the first one or the second one, like regardless of how I put them in order. So I took the second one, of course, because I was so biased towards death at the time. And when I started playing this game, oh my god, it was great. It was just fucking great. I loved it. And I just don't have words right now, but I will try to think about them. I love the game, I love the gameplay, and I love Death. I love his voice actor. I love how he sounded. I loved how he was that sarcastic character that was so lovable. It was great. I played the game for like 2 times in a row, all the 30 hours once, all the 30 hours later, doing all the side stuff I could find. And then I got so into the game, like the lore, that I started looking it up on Google, and I was like, I need more of this. Then I found out there was a book that was kind of like a connection, a book that basically explained how the brothers War and Death were, how do you say, became more close, like more, their relationship got better as brothers. So I was like, I definitely need to take this, to read this. And then I got the comic books. Like I read them both, loved them. Wish there was more, but of course those are like the typical comic book tie to a video game. Like the first one had one introduction, and the second one had an introduction to the game series. It's a typical practice. So I did enjoy them a lot, and I will say this: when I saw the first one specifically, that featured war more than anything else. It also had all the horsemen like a little more involved in the second book that had Death. It basically got me really interested in the other two horsemen that I didn't play as. War and Death were the ones that we play in these games, but Strife and Fury were the ones that were meant for the next games to come. And I'll say this. Even though I liked Strife, Fury was like, I really got interested in the character of Fury, both from the comics and the book. She was more of a caring sister character, but I still enjoyed it a lot. Like, I thought that was her character. I didn't expect that the personality shifts that the character would have, but we'll go on to this in the second video more specifically, because I also want to talk about a specific thing, which is the characters per se, like my opinion on all of them, and like a general thing. I mean, Death is pretty much to describe how I feel about it, but I'll go on to like a bit about how I feel about the characters and their games, and I will talk about the horsemen that have not been introduced. Although Fury will be introduced in a few days with the new game coming, and I'm very excited for that, and I will be talking a lot about that because I have a very specific topic to talk about in that one. So, to talk about War specifically, let's start with him, since he is the first horseman that we're introduced to in the series. I feel like it's best to also, like, in his specific case, talk about his game as well. So, what are my feelings towards War as a character, design-wise, and like all the different aspects of him? Because in his first game, we see him as a prisoner of the council. Basically, he is he basically is framed for the destruction of humanity, and now he has to show this council that he was not guilty, and he had to basically find who it was and basically like bring him to the council. So basically, what I think about War is that he looks awesome as hell. I will say this, like all the horsemen have their aspect. He has the tank like build basically. He is a huge fellow. He has a really good like red aesthetic to him, if you will. A little overabundant with the, how do you say, with the details, but that is actually part of his charm. So, I really do like War's character. He's the more stoic of the horsemen from what we've seen so far. I mean, he was a little much of a rash brood in the what you call it. He is a bit of a rash brood in the comic book, like a little more immature than he is in the well, maybe not immature, but he is a bit of an impatient fighter, if you will. But he still had his table obviously had elements of him, and in the game, I mean, like he still had some of those elements, but he was mostly a stoic character that followed whatever they told him to do, to an extent in which it's useful to him, though. Like he was a bit used by Samael and the Chart Council, but at the end he had it his way towards the end. Spoiler alert. So War is an interesting character. I love his fighting style, a slower paced fighting style with his sword. He was the strong brute character. His design is cool. He was an interesting character to play as in the first game, and I honestly will say that my opinion on the first game is that although the second one is my favorite by far, mostly because of the character himself and the interaction he has, the first one had a little more structure. This type of game seems, even though I love doing side quests, this type of game seems like it's more made towards the linear story type. Although, as I said, I love side quests, I love them, but the second one kind of felt a little detached when I had to jump to do the 3 things of this, the 3 things of that, and then there was the whole situation of not consequential stuff that could be completely ignored. I still did it, but it was like it didn't feel relevant. It didn't feel too relevant to the story, and I feel like that's what Darksiders 1 has done better, because being a linear story, yes, it was shorter, but it was more like concentrated on the main objective, and it just felt like a story, like not too detached. It felt like I don't know how to say it. It felt more structured. Okay, I probably said it a lot of times, but that's what's the point I'm trying to get across. So, in the general overview, Darksiders 1, I preferred it for the game, like for the story, sorry. I loved War. His interaction with the Watcher, Mark Hamill's Watcher, was one of my favorite things in the game series, for sure. I loved the dynamic. Him and Ruin getting together was one of the best moments. I loved a lot of the game, the first game. I played that one as well a few times, so I do enjoy it. And War is an awesome character that I'm happy to see more of in the future of the series, and in the small segments that we're gonna see in the Fury game that is coming out in a few days. Well, it seems like the time is almost up. We have around 3 minutes left, so I think that I should be talking about the other 3 horsemen on the second part. In the second part of this video, of this segment, I will be talking about Death, a little bit of my opinion on Darksiders 2, I believe. I will be talking about my opinion on Strife, even though he doesn't have much going for him except for the, like the fan art and a bit of the few pieces of information we have about him in the books and in the comic books. But we'll see where that goes. And last but not least, I'll talk about Fury, which is a character I look very forward to playing. Other than that, let's see, I will finish the second segment, let's say, will be the final part of this. It will be a 2-parter video. So I will basically finish the composition. I'll finish the coloring, I'll finish the shading, lighting, and then I will do some minor tweaks to the line art as I go. And the composition will be finished, and I will probably not be able to say all the stuff I have to say about Darksiders, how it influenced me and all that stuff. But you can always look forward to it in future videos, possibly. I wish you all the best, and I hope to see you on the next video. Have a good one.